your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
Calling all families.
Calling all children. And kids of all ages.
Are you looking for a variety of music the whole family can listen to?
Yeah!
Then look no further. We have traditional songs, international tunes, and fresh new beats.
Join us every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m.
Right here on Southern Miss Radio
for the Hickory Dickory Dock Show. Catch you Saturday. Catch you then.
Welcome to the afternoon USM in Hattiesburg. I'm your host Blake Talbert with Southern Miss Today with some Southern Miss Radio news. In campus news for USM, come one, come all. USM SMAC is calling for talent of all kinds to audition for USM Has Talent. So if you have something fun or exciting like yodeling or tying your shoes one-handed and you want to show your fellow Eagles, auditions are being held through the 8th. For sign up, head to USM_SMAC on Instagram to find that link for you. And in the spirit of talent, we on Southern Miss Radio send our hearts and love out to the Buffetts for the passing of our beloved alumni, Jimmy Buffett. He passed away on September 1st at the great age of 76. And for a tribute to him, all attendees joined together in the singing of Margaritaville at the game this past Saturday. And for lack of a better word, it was nothing short of awesome. I only hope he found his lost shaker of salt and is now enjoying his cheeseburger in paradise. In Hattiesburg news, get ready for fun, Hub City. Calico Station is underway bringing food and fun in our great city. Kenneth Moyer, CEO of Calico Development, hopes to have this center up and going by around the beginning of 2024. They hope to have food vendors from all around town featured inside, and according to Moyer, they already have a Caribbean-styled restaurant wanting to serve food up on the rooftop. So it's going to be a lot of fun, great parties. So keep your eyes peeled, folks. That's going to be a great time. And some more fun news. Forest General Healthcare Foundation is raffling off a decked-out 2023 Honda Pilot EXL, thanks to Pine Belt Honda in Hattiesburg. And only $75 a ticket as well. So I would say that's a pretty good deal to get a nice car. $75 possibly. There's going to be 2,000 people entered in the drawing, and all proceeds will help out for the Asbury Hospice House. This drawing will occur on November 28th at 6 p.m., so pull out those wallets and go visit fghfoundation.com for more info and to register. In Mississippi news, Governor Tate Reeves is speeding ahead in the polls against Brandon Presley for the November general election. Earlier this year, Reeves led by about 4 points, but in late August poll, Reeves is now sitting at about an 11-point lead. This race is still anybody's game on account of Reeves is having a higher unfavorable rate at around 49%, and Presley is about 35% of a lot of people not knowing enough about who he is. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see what happens to these two front runners. In national news, 39-year-old Enrique Tarrio, orchestrator of the U.S. Capitol attack, after the 2020 presidential election was sentenced 22 years in federal prison. He led 200 armed men to surround the U.S. Capitol in attempts to overturn the election. U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly stated that this punishment is also placed in hopes of preventing any further political violence in the future. So stay tuned and see how that pans out. And that's your news update today from Southern Miss. Up next, we'll have the latest in sports and weather. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to our action-packed sports segment. Let's dive into the latest scores, highlights, and all things sports. Get your jerseys on, because it's game time. This past Saturday, USM showed out and kicked off the season strong with a 40-14 win against Alcorn State. Lots of wind under our wings as we soar into this weekend, flying over to Tallahassee, Florida. In an interview yesterday, Will Hall, USM's head coach, stated about Florida, "We play a tremendous opponent this week. I mean, they're probably the best team I've ever coached against. It's going to be a great challenge for us. A tremendous opportunity to go over there and represent our program the right way in an elite opponent in an elite venue to see how much we've grown since the last time we went over and played Alabama in a situation like this. I think our guys are excited about it. So send some love to our Eagles as they go out and face up against Florida State this Saturday at 7:30 Central Standard Time. Other upcoming games to look out for, our women's soccer team takes on Alabama tomorrow at 4 p.m. here in Hattiesburg, and more info on that to be determined for what should be a great game, so come out and support our Lady Eagles. In the Wellness Center this Friday, women's volleyball will be rallying up against Nichols at 7 p.m., so go out and support them as well. And to keep up with Golden Eagles sports activities, head on over to southernmiss.com. As for our weather today, the skies are wide open. The sun is beaming. Right now it's 92 degrees outside with temperatures steadily climbing up and up and up and up. Highs today will be about 98 and the low end will be about 72. This pattern will stay consistent through the rest of this week and hopefully get a little bit of clouds here and there and bring that sweet shade we're all going to be needing after this long week of lots of hot. So up next, we'll have some Mississippi moments. It'll be, Clyde Brown talks about his time in Gulf Coast Fisheries Program. And this is by the Center of Oral History and Cultural Heritage. So stay tuned, check it out. We'll be right back after this moment.
This is Mississippi Moments, produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage at the University of Southern Mississippi and supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. I'm Bill Ellison. Because of his interest in preserving our marine resources, Clyde Brown was appointed to the Gulf of Mexico Program for Fisheries. He describes his work with the program.
Don Waller was our president of the Farm Bureau Federation, and he knew that I lived in Jackson County, and he would come down to visit our board. We'd talk seafood, and I'd lobby him a little bit for our seafood industry if we needed something down here. One day I got a call. He said, "We've got an opening on the Gulf of Mexico program for fisheries. Would you be interested?" And I told him, yes, I'd be interested in it because I was really involved in it. Well, I got appointed to the Gulf of Mexico program, and that really put me in touch with a lot of people from 5 states, from Texas to Florida. And we had talked to a lot of commercial fishermen, their needs, what could we do for our environment to improve the areas, pollution, the runoff. If you get there and among the people that's doing this type of work, you can learn more than you can reading a book, I can tell you. You need to get out there with the people that's doing it.
To hear more, visit MississippiMoments.org or just like us on Facebook. Mississippi Moments is supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. The humanities are for everyone.
That was your Mississippi Moments with Clyde Brown talking about his time in the Gulf Coast Fisheries Program. Thank you so much. That was from the Center of Oral History and Cultural Heritage. Up next, stay tuned, folks, because we got a great guest. He may have forgotten our coffee and treats this morning, but he sure as heck has got a lot to tell us about the coffee house. So stay tuned for David Walker to keep telling us more and more and more about what's coming up with music, fun, excitement, all things good. David Walker's got great stories even about his life and insights about some fun times with C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien. One of those guys, but he's got some great insights coming up because he's had a lot of experience. 70 years young, and we'll be right back.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Sponsorship comes from American Graphics. Located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg, American Graphics provides custom screen printing and embroidery. They can be reached by phone at 601-602-2277, and the website is goamericangraphics.com. American Graphics, printing at its finest.
Well, welcome back, folks. Here today, like I said, we have Mr. David Walker telling us great things about the coffee house. So how you doing today, Mr. David?
I'm doing great, and good recovery, by the way.
Thank you.
Every year we like to come over to our favorite radio station, WSM, and talk about the Backdoor Coffee House and its proximity to the campus, because we love to have students come. And before I even go into that, the first thing I'll say, it's always donation only. And I shouldn't say this loudly to too many people, but we usually tell students to come in, don't worry about donating. You know, let the old people
Keep
with
that on
jobs,
the hush, right?
let the old people with jobs donate.
Come on, we don't have much money to give you.
Yeah, we want you here. That's the deal. And it's been a great pleasure in my life, and I'm 72 years young, by the way, just to let you know.
I was shaving off a couple years for you.
You know,
that was also on the down
well,
low.
I thought maybe I just looked like a buff 70, so
Yeah,
that was
right,
good
right.
deal. Thank you.
If you don't mind me asking, where is the Backdoor Coffee
Okay.
House?
All right, University Baptist Church, UBC, is about 2.5, 3 blocks from this room. It's across Hardy Street. It's at 3200 Arlington Loop. Okay, so you can get that, you know, if you need a GPS to go that far, you know.
Google Maps.
Google Maps, yeah, UBC. And it's really a pretty nifty church. My little church commercial, sorry about that, y'all. But the coffee house is our church's sort of gift to the community. It's we believe in the arts in general, as the creative spirit is a part of the spiritual journey, and that everybody can share. I mean, you know, like when you listen to a song with someone else, you experience something that's different than hearing a lecture or a sermon. I mean, it's a whole different thing. You're all in it together. It's a participation. And so I've always loved the coffee house concept from many years ago. And about 32 years ago, I was sitting at the church one night and looking around the room, and this was like a Wednesday night potluck supper, and I thought, you know, when I did the coffee houses in 1970 at the University of Wisconsin, we'd have killed for a room like this. You know, lights, great bathrooms, you know, the whole thing.
That's important right there.
Very
Great bathrooms.
big, good plumbing, you know, clean, everything else. And you know, churches, I hate to say this is like an admonition to all churches everywhere or whatever. Rooms that are empty a lot, that are that good, they ought to be serving. They ought to be doing something with it. Well, that's kind of I can talk that way in my church, because people say, oh yeah, we should be. What can we do? Well, my thing is the arts. I love that. And so I said, well, we could have an incredible coffee house. And our minister at the time, who was new, and said, okay, David, you can do it, but I'll do you a favor. I'll never be part of it. It'll just be, you know, I said, yeah, we'll have a firewall, because I don't want to go through a committee. I don't want to have to screen things. I want freedom, and I want the artists to feel freedom. So in terms of, like, you know, the music, the arts that come, the criteria I usually find for who we bring in is that me and my buddies, we like you a lot.
That's
you know,
a sign if you get invited.
It's like real critique, super critique. But no, it's amazing. It started out with friends that were good musicians or writers or whatever. And, you know, and that was back before there was the internet or anything. That's early days. There was recorded music. But we started going through this, and then several years later, one of my friends said, well, David, you know, we're never going to get there unless we do something to let people know we're here. And I said, well, what could we do? Because we had no budget. And he said, well, we need to bring in somebody who has a following. And I said, yeah, but don't those people, like, have to buy food and everything, and you have to pay them?
It's expensive. This will come with a price tag on it.
And he, who had a little bit of a history with music in general, said, there's a way, and I know somebody. And that is the door.
That's the phrase right
when
there.
you start knowing people, and when you get into the creative arts, especially people who tour and write music, and they aren't the names that everybody knows, but they write the music for names that everybody knows, they are incredibly talented. It's the difference in listening to a poem read by a great reader and a poem read by the poet that wrote it. When you do that in a room with people, it gives you a whole different vibe. I love live performance, and I mean, I own the albums for people that come, but I would rather be there in the room and be part of that experience. So
It's just different.
it is different. It is living art, and you, as the audience, impact it directly. When you're in a room that's the size of, say, that'll hold maybe 150 people, and you're sitting at tables with candles. Please imagine that you are. And I do want you to come. And you got free coffee. And it's good coffee. We go to some trouble.
Where was that this morning?
Well, that's a whole other story. Whitney and I have an issue, these things. I owe her an album signed by Grace Pettis, which I have, and, some other stuff, and I'm supposed to bring her coffee. This is how I keep coming on the show. But we shouldn't talk about that on the air.
Right.
Okay,
right.
that's a secret.
It's a secret.
Okay. But anyway, so we're not doing as many shows as we used to, and that's partly because coming back from the pandemic, it's just been a little difficult. And bless your hearts, y'all, that anybody that loves touring musicians, it's a lot harder for them to make it now. Tough. I mean, gas, hotels, and so, a lot of these people are just, you can afford them, but it's harder than it used to be. So I have to scrape a little harder, but I'm never going to charge for a show. That's against my personal religion, okay? Because we're in a church, and I don't want people to come to think, well, I'm contributing to the church. That's not for that. This is purely for the coffee house. The coffee house is a courtesy of the church, but it is not like I have a deal with them where they watch the money. We have our accountant that does that so we don't do anything wrong. But the money that's given to the coffee house pays purely for coffee house expense. So that's, just want y'all to know that, my friends that don't believe in anything but want to come, or don't even like me but want to come, your
That's
money
awesome.
is not going to be used to build a new Sunday school or anything like that.
Right.
So, I mean, and I go to Sunday school, so don't.
That's a good plus right there.
Yeah, just have to say that. I'm going to own my church. And I love it, but because they're letting me do this as part of it.
Right.
But we've had folks there. We've had Grammy winners, singer-songwriters. We actually had a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame play, which was just an incredible evening, and we really couldn't afford it, but we went out on a limb. And then the house that night brought in, through the doors, just people walking, the money to pay for that night. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'd had money, it's stockpiled, but my thing is I hate to say that, I'm a pessimist, but I always expect the worst, and then I'm delighted when everything works. And
You'd rather be surprised than disappointed.
Oh, yeah. And right now, I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors. We got some sweet sponsors, people that really help when they can. But more and more people are like, well, I can't really do a sponsorship, but they're writing bigger checks to us, and that's just unexpected and always fun when it happens. Don't worry, we will spend your money.
Yeah. if they're willing to give it.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back before the next show, but we have a show in October, October 13th, and Sarah Beth Gohagan is coming. Well, there's a long story there. We don't even have time for that, but I love Sarah Beth Gohagan, so it's a favor to me to make my friend feel good.
Right.
Come see her. She is the most eclectic, most quirky of the most talented musicians that I've ever known, and she's just a long story short. She's Nashville based. She I shouldn't say that. She got married about a year and a half ago, and we were so delighted because I told her, Sarah Beth, it's going to be fun to hear you writing songs and that are not about disappointing love. But you can't get on that because that's where the blues come from, right? And
Is she a blues style artist?
No, she is eclectic. Okay, I will bring in some music for her. The new stuff especially is really strange, but I love her. I mean, it's good music. I'm not frightening people off. I'm just saying, if you've seen Sarah Beth, it's not like you won't say, oh, was she the one who, no, you say, no,
You remember.
I remember. And bring your husband, he's a musician. I brought their bios in. I'm not going to read them because we'll do that on the other show.
Right.
But I will say that in November, I'm saying this because I know some people that know the musician. We are bringing Tom Kimmel back and Tom Kimmel this guys is part of the Sherpas, one of the bands he sings with, and the Sherpas are just amazing. but only 2 of the 3 because Tom Paseda-Rouse had a surgery and he's not able to currently tour. But Tom and Michael Lilly have played gigs as the Sherpas. I think they had already made the contract, so they had to fulfill them. But they were delighted at how well it worked. I mean, they were like, wow, we can do it. We're still good enough to do this well and serve it well. So we've been listening to them, and they released a new album. I think it's been a couple of months now, but it charted immediately. So that was for them. That was a real big deal. Tom actually was here, and this is a little bit about the Back Door for you to learn. We've had this thing around forever, but about 7 or 8 years ago, we got a new associate minister, Kat, and she loved the coffee house. She said, "This is great. I'm going to help. I'm going to be your barista." We got all in it. We did a festival, all this, and we were looking for an artist for the festival to teach a class and play music. And she said, "Do you know anybody like that?" I said, "Well, there's Tom Kimmel. Was a poet in residence, a writer in residence at Vanderbilt. He's done all these albums that people like, everybody from, oh gosh, I'm just trying to think of a name. Linda Ronstadt, I think, even had recorded some of this stuff. I mean, he's known and has a solo career and all this. And so we got Tom. Well, they ended up married.
What a way to meet.
Yeah, they married in Ireland and then came home and married here. And they were here for about 4 or 5 years together. His studio moved it down here. And now they're in Memphis, where she's church at up there, and Tom's up there recording. It's a little closer to Nashville. It's easier for him to do things. But that's the kind of craziness. If you come to this place, it's dangerous. Who knows? Maybe we get married to who's on stage. Whatever.
Never know who you're going to
Never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to meet. We have had other couples that met at this. But anyway, so Tom will be coming with Michael Lilly, and they both have solo careers. But you can look up the Sherpas. Just Google the Sherpas. That's what I do. I just Google stuff to find things, and you can listen to their music, and it's pretty incredible. After Christmas, the shows that I have right now are, let's see, it's in February, I believe. As we've got the Rough and Tumble, who are this. I'm so old, I shouldn't say this, but they're adorable. No, it's a guy and it's a duo. This young couple. I think they're still in their maybe early 30s. I may be, I try not to fix people's age. I'm not an ageist.
You don't want someone guessing your age.
Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, they don't want me guessing mine. But they travel in their van or whatever, and they with 2 dogs and a hamster. This will tell you a lot about them. One of the dogs is on stage with them. And and their first album is Howl at the Moon, and I just love that number. And I think you can find them on Spotify. The Rough and Tumble, they're great. Are we out of time? I don't want to.
No, we're still good. We're still good.
2 minutes. Okay, I'm trying. I'll tell you one last artist that's coming. One of my favorite people of all time, Scott Ainsley, who is Mr. Blues. This guy devoted his life to finding and tracking down the blues. He's from Vermont, and he can sing the blues. Now, I'm sorry, he really can. And he went down, and he's like followed musicians, the original musicians, and met them. And in fact, he teaches a course in Robert Johnson's guitar techniques. He does educational stuff. But he's incredible. I cried at one of his songs. It wasn't his song. I mean, because he told the story, and then he sang the song. And I'm sitting there going, oh, Lord, I'm just melting, And so he'll be here this year. We'll talk a lot about him. But I gotta mention a couple of our sponsors, because the guys and gals that have held on with us through the pandemic, you want to hang on for. Moore's Bike Shop, and they are very much a Hattiesburg institution, wonderful people. The Author Shop is my newest sponsor, and they're downtown. They're the independent bookstore, and they carry my books, by the way, and I occasionally do signings down there. Yeah, little plug there. And DavidWWalkerWrites.com. I count myself as a new sponsor, but that's just for fun that I do that. But if you ever want to look me up, I did win the last MLA Authors Award for Mississippi with the first book in my fantasy series, The Witch's Tower. Rush out and buy it. Buy several. Whatever. Oh, yeah. Well, of course, I should mention University Baptist Church and K&D Sales. And I know we're running right down to the line on this one, but hey, I'll be back.
You'll be back.
I'll be back.
Hey, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. You've been a great guest, and
Oh.
just thank you for all the insights you give us. You've been real fun to have here and just get to know.
Well, I will return, and Whitney, I will bring the coffee. I promise. This time I mean it.
Redemption.
Okay. All right.
All right, up next, we'll have a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back after that.
Sponsorship comes from Southern Beverage, your local Michelob Ultra distributor. Michelob Ultra has significantly fewer carbs and calories per serving if you are watching those in your diet. You can reach Southern Beverage by phone at 601-268-9111, or you can find them on the internet at southernbeverage.com. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri, and Southern Beverage ask you to please drink responsibly.
Thank you for listening to Southern Miss today on Southern Miss Radio. Huge thanks to ORE and our audio engineer, Carter. Michaela Stapleton, our video producer, for keeping this bird flying. Big shout out to assistant producers Shaylin and Huey, as well as our executive producer, Miss Whitney. Program director Shania, and our general manager, Dr. Martin. That wraps up our show for Southern Miss today. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, soar high to the sky and fly, eagle, fly. I'm your host, Blake Talbert, signing off for now.